Okay, so welcome to the Sales and Positioning Workshop. A few of you have been here over the past few weeks, and every week we're kind of switching up the topic from last week, or the first week was content, then it's offers, and now it's sales. I think next week it's going to be potentially advertising and marketing and leads. And it's going to be a series I'm running for the next 52, well, not 52 weeks, 48 weeks now, because we're already down January. So yeah, as we hop into this, I like these to be interactive and fun. If you have any questions, I find if you get good insights along the way when you're asking good questions that are particular to you. So as we get into this, drop anything into the chat, drop anything into the comments section, and we'll be sure to either bring you on or answer it live after. So what we're going to cover today is two sales processes that work that I've personally used that I feel are not pushy and very discovery based. I come from a construction background where I spent a decade estimating various projects. So I didn't necessarily use these sales processes then, but I used pieces of them. And now that I know what I know now, there's little elements of it that I would have introduced to make my sales process better back then. So, but first, I guess a quick introduction. Who am I? Why should you listen? I'm Troy Swingen. I'm a positioning expert. I've helped clients generate significant amounts of revenue through various different advertising campaigns, consulting gigs, coaching, and some various different brand gigs as well. We've done fundraising, we've done, you name it, YouTube, Facebook ads, Google ads. So here's some of our results. You can take a look at our website there to give us a little bit of a highlight reel. And here's also some of the big deals we've closed over the years, just to show you that this process works. And this process, how do I say? There's so many different ways to sell something. Not one specific thing that I teach in this is basically take what works for you and discard what doesn't. Some pieces might apply to your business, some pieces might not. So I think that's always really important to mention. One big thing we're going to be covering today is spin. So what is spin selling? Now, there's two processes here I'm going to go into, which is spin selling and a transformative selling from Prosperous Coach. But first, let's go into spin selling. So Neil Rackham invented spin selling, and it is the quote unquote, the best validated sales method available today, developed from research studies of 35,000 sales calls used by top sales forces across the world. So most sales processes, not all of them, but have an adapted version of this sales process, because that's what's good about it, is it is adaptable. It's basically a mindset and a framework to think through when you're selling. So what is spin? So I'm gonna grab a sip of water here. Am I going too fast? Is this good pace? Everything's good? Thumbs up? Cool. Awesome. So spin is situation, problem, implications, need, payoff. And basically it is a discovery-based approach that you host on a sales call, essentially. You have a discovery call that you'd host with a client that would basically be a sales call that gets to know what is going on in their reality. I can talk more on that after. So it's basically consultative selling. You are finding out what's actually important to them and not necessarily what's important to you. The package that you have as a solution fits and can deliver the desires, needs, and wants that they have, but you're making it fit to what they actually want and not what you want them to want, if that makes sense. So it's very invitational. As we get into this transformative selling, I'm going to kind of brief on the two, and then I'm going to go into the depths of spin selling. So it's very invitational. It's like, hey, hey, Ethan, I've seen a little gap there. I have some ideas. Can we connect about a couple things? I hop on a call with you, and it's like, hey, dude, what's going on? What's your situation? Cool. You tell me stuff's going on. Okay, cool. Like what problems are coming up for you? It's like, oh, well, it's causing XYZ challenge. It's like, oh, well, could you tell me more about that problem? This is the implications, the problem of that problem. So it's like, oh, well, it's doing this. It's, it's creating this challenges. Like, damn, yeah, that must suck. Like, could you tell me more about that? So you dig, you find out the actual problem of what is going on. When you're doing this, it can seem and feel disingenuous, but you're just asking questions. And really, when you're asking questions about somebody's problems, as long as you're not here to manipulate and screw people over, and you actually have a good service to offer, they're going to tell you about their problems. They signed up to talk to you, like, right? The trust is already there. So you find out the problem of the problem. The need payoff is, well, we have a solution for you. The solution is join XYZ, or XYZ club could be a fit to all those challenges that you have. So it's like, basically the first half of this is all them. This is all exactly what's going on in their world. The second half of it is all you. By the way, we have something that can fit that. So that's to kind of explain it in a nutshell, but I'll go into like the details of how to set an hour-long spin selling call. So consultative selling, invitational, observe the gap. Okay. So before I go into the full spin selling script, I want to cover this one as well, because I think this can be a different selling style that you can adopt to if you don't necessarily like spin selling. So it comes from the Prosperous Coach book. It's actually quite an expensive book. It's a $40 paperback, $90 hardcover. And what it is essentially, when you have a transformation offer, a consulting offer, coaching offer, whatever it be, is you invite, say, Ethan, I'm going to use you as an example if you don't mind. Let's say you invite a client to a marketing call. It's like, hey, we have a marketing strategy call. I'd love to bring you over. What we're going to do on this call is I'm going to give you everything I got, and I'm going to show you everything. I'm going to show you what's behind the curtain, what we could deliver, what a campaign would look like. Like, you just kind of basically give them a whole educational session. But you ask, if I do that and you like what I have to offer, can I reserve the right to pitch you? And to be honest, it's a pretty fair ask. It's like, if we spend an hour together and actually give you good stuff and actually give you helpful things that you can implement, you can either take and implement it on your own, but I also just want to be able to ask for the sale. And it's kind of the frame that you set beforehand. So again, it really depends on what your sales process looks like, because these are all adaptable. I think that's the thing about sales processes. Like, they can all be kind of adapted and changed to base on your needs. Like, spin selling has been used to sell vacuums and like TVs and like cars and coaching and media and you name it. Like, Joe, I'm sure it's even sold like some electrical stuff in the past too. Like, it's so universal. So now to get into what the definition of sales is, and I think I started doing this in the last training. One thing I learned a long time ago is to really truly understand like deeply what something is to go into the definitions of it, because we usually know what something is from face value. Obviously, sales is a very simple word, but this training that I went through suggested that you start looking at more definitions of things more often, so you actually have deep context of what really is going on. So the best definition of sales is the exchange of money for goods or services. However, in business, it is defined as a set of activities a business does to help customers buy their product. Sales is an activity. So I think that's really interesting. It's like, even looking up this definition for this training, it's like, oh yeah, I guess sales is a verb. It's definitely an action word. So showing up with life force, I've kept this in from the beginning. Like, no matter what you do, even if you fail, people can feel the life force you put into your work. Each failed promotion acts as a stepping stone to the next brilliant idea. So like, if you're coming on today, just put your stuff out into the world, get out there. If it fails, people recognize what you're building, and that builds you a personal brand. So your mindset is more important than your skill level with sales. This is a really important thing in regards to spin selling. And some of the top mindsets that you can adopt before you get into a spin selling call are these. But before I go into this whole next next 10, 15 slides is basically how to host a spin call. When you're going into a call, oh, the California in me, I got to read this. Sorry. The California in me loves this mindset life stuff for us. That's awesome. I'm happy to hear that. I guess it's the Canadian in me. So 5 minutes before the call, again, coming back to mindsets, everything when you are selling, reminding yourself and being committed to helping the other person. This comes before anything else when you're making a sale. It doesn't matter if you're going to sell them. It matters that you're going to be able to help them. Be direct, hold up the mirror and help them see what's really going on. You have to do that in order to actually achieve a sale. If you don't let people see what's going on when they are looking to buy and it's just a very surface level conversation, likelihood of a high ticket sale is super slim. Remember that seeing fully the cost of staying where they are is 90% of everything. Everyone wants to get from point A to point B. If you can help them recognize that you are here and you want to go here and here's the gap, that's really important. Be detached from the outcome. You're there to get them what they need, not what you need. So friendly reminder, mindset, 5 minutes before the call, just kind of get yourself in a good headspace. Yeah, mindset, mind state. So when you hop onto the call, it's important to set an agenda when you're doing spin selling. So it's important to actually set an agenda for any meeting because it really reduces a lot of wasted time for everybody, unless you're actually just like networking and it's personal. But if you're having a business meeting, I think setting an agenda is like a super major life hack that a lot of people avoid. Make sure establish rapport, get to know them, ask them questions. Hey, how are you? What's going on in your world? Like, I genuinely actually like to get to know people's backstories, where they came from, how they got into their industry. That's important to them, and I find that builds rapid rapport. So something that I often do myself. When you do set the agenda, they need to know that you're in control, you care, and that you're there to get the best outcome for them. So it's like, hey, Bob, like, I'm here to see what's going on in your world. I'm going to go deep. I'm going to ask some pretty intense questions. Some of them could be a little triggering. My intent here is to actually get down to the truth of what's actually going on so we can get you the best outcome for what's really possible. So it's like, obviously you can set that base to who you are. You don't have to set it with a heavy hand or like a hammer. Everyone has their own flow in sales, but it just sets the frame of what's going on and what's to expect. So if you do ask intense questions, they're not unexpected. So exploring the gap. This is the most important part of a spin selling session. So, seeing where they're at and what it's costing them to stay where they are. And if they aren't able to see that, they generally won't invest. They won't pay to get the solution. So identify the gap, then go deeper into the impact of the problem and how it affects them. In other words, why not stay where you are now? So for example, like, let's say, Ethan, I'm going to keep using you as an example. I hope you don't mind. Let's say you go to a client, you're running a marketing agency, and they're like, yeah, I want some leads. And it's like, oh, cool. So like, tell me about that. Like, what's going on currently? Well, you know, we'd like some more business. It's like, well, did you have lots of leads before? Was there a significant lead flow in the past? What happened? Oh, well, yeah, all of a sudden, you know, things went well in summer and then fall came and it died down. Okay, so you had a killer summer. Your fall promotions probably fell flat. And maybe, like, you know, you're now looking to ramp up for like the Christmas season, or like, tell me more about that. Like, what do you really actually want here? So you're diving deeper and like really just getting into the true core of the problem. The real core of the problem is they're terrified and they won't have any business by Christmas. Things were great in summer. They're really scared now. They need reassurance that something's going to work for them. So it's like, you know, getting into that real depth gets to the true core of what's real. and actual true to them. And again, without setting that agenda powerfully, you can't get there. Without getting this dialed in to like, we're going to ask questions. I'm here to take care. Like, I'm here to take care of you. I'm here to support you. You'll never be able to get to the truth. They'll give you surface level answers. So the deeper you go into the reasons why they need to get this handled, the more successful you'll be and the more you'll help your clients. If this section is too brief and too shallow, you're wasting your time and their time. So the next piece, possibilities, explore the possibilities of what the potentiality could be. Spend 10 minutes here. So get the other person to dream big about what they want their life to be like. Don't have them to worry about the specifics of how they'll get there. Just focus on the outcomes they would want a year from now and what that would look like. The previous sections are about helping the person see that the gap is much bigger than they previously thought. So the intent with the possibility is to get them to dream big and tell you where they actually want to go, and for them to identify that, like, I'm here now, I want to go here, and there's a giant gap in between. Essentially, you're helping them fill that gap and shorten the gap. That's our goal as a service provider, is to shorten the gap and make life a little more seamless for them, no matter what you're really selling. You're shortening the gap of time, delivery, speed, money, status. There's so many side benefits of what we're selling. So as I'm going through this, is this making sense? Is this like, any questions? Good pace?
I think it's wonderful, and I think maybe just a potential topic for a future webinar, because I think we can go deep on this, is just the process of digging deep into them itself, because I feel like each potential client or each client is so unique. So maybe even talking about assessing personality types, assessing separate fears, you know, like the process of getting to the root of what they really want and why they want it. I think that could be a webinar in itself, you know?
I like that. And I was thinking about that before this, is like, so when you set this frame, usually if you set this frame well, that should take care of a lot of like the authority stuff that they wouldn't give you the truth. However, like obviously a lot of pre-positioning, like content, web stuff, brand dev, all that other stuff. I was actually thinking of doing like a pre-positioning training after that, because you obviously can't go deep with somebody that doesn't trust you. However, like I guess this is assuming that that potential person like somewhat knows you, they're aware of you, they're aware you're selling something. So like, but you know, I appreciate that. I like that a lot. And I really like, I guess, like, I don't know, I can harp on this again, because this dude, if the agenda's set powerfully, you know, I'm here to help you. I care. I really want to get you the best results. I know a lot of agencies don't. But in order for me to do that, I need you to be brutally honest with some of the questions I'm going to ask you. And it's like, comes from a place of like such genuine care, like you give a shit. So I think that's a big one. Like I really like, you can't go deep with somebody if they can't actually feel that you care. I think that's important. So yeah, that's a great question. Thank you, man. I'm going to dive back into here. Let's go to summarize your findings thus far. So as you've gone through all of this, the goal of summarizing your findings is just to let them know that you understand. You're summarizing the gap. This is what's going on. This is what I've heard you say. Here's the challenges you need to overcome. I heard what you said, essentially. I think the biggest thing in all sales is often we lose sales is because we don't listen to what the prospect actually wants. So I think if there's anything that you can take from this training too, it's like, make sure that they want what you're selling and that you offer them what they are asking for. And that comes in different ways. Like we've had people ask for like traffic in different ways. And like some people aren't buying leads, they're buying conversions. And it's like, they want to see conversions on their invoice. They don't want to see leads. So it's like, give them what they want. And it'll make your life a lot easier. So let's move to the next one here. So you investigate the solution with them after you've summarized the findings. You spend about 45 minutes here. This is where you show them that you have the solution to bridge the gap. This is essentially the needs payoff. here's our program. We can get you there. It's no big deal. It's not an issue. We've helped people like you before, because usually you have. And like, again, this isn't, to do this, you have to be delivering a product. Like, you can't just be like, yeah, we've done that. It's like, no, you've actually delivered this in the past. It's like, we've done this before. Here's our results. Here's our testimonials. And really, you want to make it personal for them. They should absolutely see that your solution can help them bridge the gap. If they don't, then they usually won't progress to the next stage. If they don't believe it's a believable solution, I think that's a big one. And I know we touched on this in offers, is when you present an offer, if the offer isn't believable, like if it's so outlandish and unreal, people don't believe that it's a fit for them, or that that solution can get them there. It might not be the right vehicle for them. So that is our job, to show them that our vehicle can get them across the gap. So offering help with this, and Ethan, I want to touch on this a little bit, if you're open to it. I guess, like, when, let's say you're helping a client bridge the gap in regards, like, let's say you're going through this sales process and you're like selling lead gen or whatever, like you're selling paid traffic right now, or social?
Social, lead gen, really just even building a strategy or coaching their marketing team. Anything marketing related really.
Okay, cool. So in regards to like bridging the gap with them, I think it's just like, yeah, you have a ton of case studies in your world that you've already bridged the gap with previous clients, right? Like, is like, if this, then that, if client has done that before, this has happened, similar place. So it's like, you know, when Bob came on board, he was in a similar place to you. And like, he was having challenges with leads. He had a bad fall, and we got him up and cranking for Christmas, or like, right. Or like, you know, we got him up and cranking for XYZ. So it's like, just relating your previous stuff back to them, I think will really help with that. I don't know. I figured that would just be a super use case. So thanks for popping on for that.
Yeah.
So offering help with this one's pretty simple. It's like, great. So if you're committed to this, like, would you like support? Would you like help? I think the biggest thing in regards to sales is asking for the sale. Oftentimes we'll go through a big presentation and don't ask for the sale. And it's actually a perfect cue for me after, because I got to show my offer after this. But basically offering help, making sure that they want help and that it's real and that they're a good fit, and that they're not just like, yeah, sure, just show me the price. I don't want to present price to people that actually don't really want it. I don't really want to just like go through the dance if we don't have to. If they really don't want to see it and you feel it's kind of vibes off, you don't really necessarily have to proceed to the next step. So, offering help here. Oh gosh, I messed this slide up. Okay, so which one did I not reword here? I'm sorry, guys. I think they're the same. I just didn't redo this one. This one was longer. So after you offer help, you go into handling objections. Handling objections is as long as it takes. If basically, like, anything that's going on, don't be salesy. Have them tell you what's a fear for them. Address the fear. Like, I understand that you feel that way. I think a really big sales objection handler I learned a long time ago from Brian Tracy, who's Feel, Felt, Found. I understand how you feel. Other people have felt that way too. But what they found was this. And it's like, you're addressing their whole objections. Like, I understand that you're scared. Other people have expressed that they're scared too, but what they found after is when they invested, it's like the fear goes away because we start getting into action. And it's like, oh yeah, like that does make sense. So have them tell you what happens if they do get help. You want them 100% focused on the cost of not doing it rather than the cost of doing it. So now getting the new client started, make sure I fix that spacing. 5 minutes beforehand, spend 5 minutes here. make sure that you onboard them, whoever you have to either hand them off to. This is all just basically an onboarding stage. It depends how you do your closing process. Like have your payment processor ready to take a deposit, however you do that. That's, I think, for another training and another day. So yeah, as we've gone through this, like, is there any questions about this process? I know I kind of like skimmed through it. We're like half an hour in of like an hour-long process. So I think it's pretty straightforward. Questions, anything?
I think for me, just a comment, really, the most valuable thing I think I've gotten so far is when you said have them focus on the price of not doing it rather than the price of not doing it, you know, because it's really forward looking.
Yep. Yeah, I like that. How can you use that? Like, do you have any examples of how you might have used that in past scenarios better?
Well, yeah. So I was pitching a client last year, and we kind of got off track a little bit in the conversation because, you know, I wanted to be, you know, candid with him, and he was just talking about all, like how great his business was and how good things were. And so I brought things back to perspective, and I said, well, do you even want marketing? Like, is this something that you're even interested in? And he said, oh yeah, no, I definitely want marketing because I would like to expand into new territories. So then I said, okay, well, there it is. Okay, so you're looking for expansion. You want to grow outside of the region or the state, and then that's where I took the conversation. So I said, okay, so if we were to do that, what would that look like? Where would you want to be found? Where, like, how far, you know, from ocean to ocean, or just one state over? And that one you know, turn of the conversation really went well, and it led to me sending him a proposal. And you know, we're still in talks, or you know, we're still working out the finer points of it, but having him kind of talk about how awesome his business was and then steer the conversation towards like, all right, well then what am I even doing here and what do we really want? That kind of accelerated the conversation and the sales process to the next level.
Yeah. Interesting. That's cool. I love that, man. That's awesome. That's great. No, I dig that a lot. Well, any other questions? Anything from anybody else? That's it on that. Well, I'm going to do this quick. We got an offer. I mean, I have an offer. I'm going to be pitching this offer at least a couple times every week. If you want help with your positioning, I'm doing a 2-hour call for $500. Basically run you through a market matrix positioning system where we kind of just like deep dive and get a bunch of intelligence and research together and set up a lot of the foundations of everything. And then we customize your sales process. So everything that we did here today, we kind of look at how does spin fit for you and how do you need to tweak it. So normally it's significantly more to work an hour per month, but I'm doing this for workshop attendees only. And well, my LinkedIn Live decided to decombust, so it's only you guys on here. So I have this from last week. I kept this in here because I think it was important from sales, but most of y'all seen this. I guess Bobby, you probably didn't see this. Aaron, Hendrick, you guys might not have seen this actually. Does anyone want to talk about this one again? I think this one I actually want to get better at teaching myself personally. And I think it's just an interesting offer triangle. It's basically how to make stronger offers and relating it to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But if not, we can also wrap early because a lot of some of these next ones are replays from last week.
Yeah, no, the Maslow's hierarchy, that was from the first webinar you did, or the second, I forget which one it was, but that one definitely stuck with me too. It's
I
just
I really want to make it like a core of some of my trainings because I think it just allows you to look at offers from like a dual lens of reality.
Exactly.
Cool. All right, well, I'll dive into it. Dude, I wish this was freaking working on LinkedIn, but anyways, let me double check once more and then I'll go right into it. Click to join. Oh, did my OBS end? Stop streaming. And I'm just going to restream this. Okay, anyways, if it kicks in, it kicks in. So the theory behind this is when we did the workshop, originally the content workshop, I should pull that slide into here quick, if you don't mind. I think it'll just add so much context. And then I can keep this in every week's training and slay it. Bobby, by the way, I really like your repositioning content offer. I just wanted to say that out loud.
Thank you.
Or repurposing content offer. I think it's brilliant. Okay, so the original one that we went over in the first week's training of content was how to tell better stories. And this is essentially like when you're telling stories, you can relate your stories to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And sometimes when we tell stories, we can tell stories to the wrong stage of action, and we'll tell stories that make people feel good but don't do anything. And that's a problem for a lot of people. You write and you write and you write and you write, but nothing happens and nobody does things. So the way we solve that is we tell stories that are closer to the urgent and survival level of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So obviously we're not like, talking about getting people food and like warmth and rest and stuff like shelter, but like the safety needs and like the belonging needs and like security, those are really important to people of like, how do I say this? Money, status, all these different things. Like if we start getting too ethereal in regards to like, one day you could make $1 million and like live on an island and not work that long, and it's or like work an hour or two a week and like blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, one day. It's not something you really move on. So I think when you're telling stories, like for me, even I used to tell a lot of stories in regards to like, yeah, like you could travel too, but like the reality is I should have been telling stories about setting up an online business and transitioning out of construction. Like that is so survival. That is such a like desire and survival, like actionable story that if I ripped on that long enough, steady enough, consistent enough, it's like, damn, he's the guy to help me do that thing. So it just like creates a lot of action in regards to your stories. Is this making sense?
Yeah, I was going to say, Troy, could I add that I think one of the things that sometimes applying this, not to them as a person, but if you treat their business as a person and apply Maslow's hierarchy to their business, like what's the psychological or the safety need of your business? Because to them, that's like a living thing too.
Yeah, the living, breathe. Yeah. Oh, I like that a lot. Thank you. Thank you for adding that. I'm gonna put that in a slide. We'll figure out how to word that after. Yeah, so Bobby, I think you're new here to me teaching this. Did that land? Is there anything that you're like, whoa, never thought about that? Or like, different?
I really like it. It makes a lot of sense, especially, whenever you have the problem of telling the wrong story for that step that the person's in. It's kind of like when people do keyword research and they are not thinking about the intent. So that makes a lot of sense. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and I think it's how do I say this? I don't want to discourage people from ever telling stories because I think the more you write, the better you get. But at the same time, if you're telling a lot of stories and you're not noticing things are doing anything or you're not moving action, start talking to the needs that are actually really important to them. Oh, gotta let Joe back in here. Joe dropped out. I really wish this LinkedIn stream was working. It's really grinding my gears right now. Okay. It's probably the last time I'm going to be doing that on LinkedIn Live, to be honest. It's not. I thought it was going to be way cooler. So anyways, welcome back, Joe. Basically, yeah, if you tell stories, you can tell the dream stories, you can tell the desire stories, Desires become laters, dreams become one day, survival is now. We act on things that are today. And really, if I think about like my life, like I'm acting like a handful of days in advance on a lot of things. And it's just like, there's a funny call booking trick I use for people. It's like, ask them if they want to get on a call next week, because nobody's busy next week. Everybody's busy this week. This week is always chaos. Next week, we usually don't even think like from Thursday till Tuesday. We're not even really concerned about that yet. So just really reminding ourselves with that, that's why the survival needs and like the lower level needs really are important. Because like one of my marketing teachers at like the beginning, like we're so close to like monkeys and like animals, it's like pretty crazy. Like if we start going into evolutionary stuff, like I don't want to get too deep in that because like but we are really like at a core biological level, like we operate in very predictable humanistic ways. Random thought, could we use the survival of the dream as a talking point, as in if you don't act today you risk losing the dream, sort of? Well, interesting. Good point. I just got to think about that one for a second. Could you use the survival as like, if you don't act on this today? Like, I mean, yeah, you're creating urgency, but I think it's like you just want to make sure that the story's framed. That's a good question. I want to say yeah, and test it. I don't know if I have a definitive answer because it's like it's a layered question, but yeah, I think you could. You try it and see. So yeah, I think I went into that one. That covers that. I think we covered that one enough. Now to go into how to make stronger offers. So I had this idea. Is this also like, yeah, yes, it is like focusing on their pain point. Thanks for asking that. Yeah, because it's like, how do I give another example of like a good frame story? Bobby, I'm going to try and use you as like a use case for a second, if you don't mind. So what can you give me an example of like, what are some desires that some of your potential prospects have?
Some of the desires, to have more free time or time to focus on the parts of their business that they really enjoy doing, as opposed to just creating content.
Okay. So this is perfect. This is like the best freaking example you could have ever given me, because the real truth beneath all of that is to spend time with family, which is more belonging and safety needs and security. And like, I want more free time. It's like, to do what? It's like to really connect deeper, because I actually want to like be there for my kids. Like when I say that, it's like, oh, yo, like there's a lot of like, so if you put a little bit of that into your content, it could be spicy. You got to be careful how you word that. You don't want to be rude and like off-putting, but you can kind of say it because it's true. Like, if you repurpose, you can actually spend more time with your family because they're getting time back. And a lot of these people that are focusing on blogs and stuff are in it for like evergreen as well. So like, if they're in it for evergreen, they're in it for time. And if they're in it for time, they're in it for probably family, I'm assuming. I don't know, but like, that's just like one angle. If you're finding that a lot of them are family people, could be a big thing. Does that hit? Does that land at all?
Yeah, because I totally think that does bring it down more, like to that sort of basic need. Yes, they want more time, but it's so that they can go to their kids' ball game and pay attention. So yeah, maybe focusing on those specific type stories or things that people can relate to.
Yeah. Hendrik, do you want to come on off mute if you can?
Yeah.
Cool. Could you talk about what your comment is?
Yeah. So I'm thinking about implications of this towards my biz from a couple different angles. And one of those angles is project manager job seekers who are stuck in this tumultuous employer's market, and they're so freaking over it. And they want time and stability with their families. They want security with and for their families. And also, you know, as these job seekers are framing themselves to desired and or even dream employers, like their top 5, right? They could present themselves as a solution to the employer's pain along the lines of, hey, potential employer, I'm here to introduce efficiency, process optimizations, et cetera. So the whole team, including you, can get more time with their families and for things that spark joy for them and aren't so slogged in work, you know, because that's what a PM does, you know.
Because that is most of the time, that is their end goal. Like, right?
Yeah. So I think this has really implications towards some of the framing that I apply to my business. So thanks, Troy.
Hell yeah. Happy to hear it, man.